Hi everyone, Atuluku Sunday here once again, and today we'll be continuing on some aggregate functions. And like you know, aggregate functions are sum, count, average, and the likes of them. So I'll just be touching briefly on sum, average, count, and count blank. Yeah, there are other ones, and you can look them up, but this one usually come up very often. And sum simply means summation. Yes, your addition. When you have your addition is what we call sum in Excel here. So for you to sum, we have a question here looking at this sheet, and if you haven't seen my last video, you can click back down and look at the last video. You can subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll be so willing to answer your question. So let's continue on this now. Sum, what is the total quantity of products sold? Now this is telling us we should sum all the quantity of the products that were sold. And in this, now a quick backdrop here. If you have your date or any value showing like this, please don't go here and start dragging back and forth. Yes, what you should do, go in between column B and C. You see a line, your cursor should change to this, and then you double click. This automatically resize it for you, and you can see the date being shown here. Then similarly, this, you double click, you can see all is now showing clearly. So now let's continue with what we have to do. So what is the total quantity of products sold? This is the quantity column on D here. So to get that, you want to find the total quantity that was sold. You can simply do this, equal to sum, open your bracket. Now they're asking for the first number to the last number. So what I do, I go down to the first digit here, which is D2. Now you select a range. So you hold shift control then down arrow key. It highlights everything for you. And once we go back, let me go back up. Yes, now once you go back, you can see it here, D2 to D 10,001. So you close your bracket and you hit the enter. You can see that our answer is giving us 29. Sorry, let me make that bold. So yeah, you can see the answer being written down there, 29. Let me also make it bold so that you can see it clearly. Yeah, so what is the total quantity of products sold? 29,854. That is correct, and that is your answer. So that is the total number of our quantity of products that were sold. Similarly, we can do the average. For you to have the average, sorry, let me go back up. What's the question there? What was the average total price? Notice that we have a column named total price here. I will not be doing this as often. So yeah, once you see the date showing hash hash hash, just go in between B and C and double click to expand it, or whatever column you need to expand. So what is the total price? What is the average total price? We have a column called total price here. So we are trying to find the average. So you say equal to average. You open your brackets, then you go up here to I2, you select a range that is colon, then you hold shift and control key, then down arrow key, and once you are done with that, you go back and close your brackets. Yes, let me scroll back up. We have a lot of data sets here. So yeah, this is it here. You close back your bracket and you hit enter. You can see that the average total price was 51. I think that should have been in dollars or naira or whatever currency it is. So let me for the sake of this, let me just fix it to dollars. Let me edit that immediately. So change it to dollars, and this is going to be in dollars also. So let's say the average price is 51.87 dollars. That is $51.87. So yeah, this is how you find your average. Now let us move on to the next. The next is simply counting how many orders were placed in the store. Now note that we have count and count A. This is what I mean. Let me increase this. Now we have what we call count as this. See, count. Then we have what we call count A. So let us first of all do count. So equal to count without the A, and this tells us that this counts the number of cells in a range that contains number. So you can only use this to count a column that contains number. You can't count alphabets or whatever again. So I'll try that quickly so that you can see. On this order column, here, let me go back a bit. Okay, sorry. So on this order column, okay, so I think we can see that clearly now. Now on this other column, you can see that it is alphanumeric. Yes, you can see that 23A, 77 and all that. If you try to use count for that column, which is equal to count, open brackets, that should be cell A2 to down, yeah, to the last one there, and you hit enter, you notice that it is going to give you 0, showing that there are nothing there. However, you can see that there are values there. It is not going to count it because it only counts values. It only counts numbers where you have numbers. If you don't have numbers, you can't use, oh sorry about this, yeah, so it's going to show us 0. So if you don't have numbers, you can't use count. Yes, count only works for where you have numbers. Now let's try it with where we have numbers and see what happens. So let's go with okay, let's try quantity where there are numbers. So that's D2 to D10, that's 10, sorry, D2 to D 10,002. Yes, so we close the bracket and we hit run. You can see it is telling you that there are 10,000 counts in on this column. Yes, on this quantity column that we just counted. So you use count to count where you have values, where you have numbers. Yes, then count A is equal to count A. Now count A counts the number of cells in a range that are not empty. So you can use this to count whatever cell you want that are not empty. That is, cells that contains any value, strings or anything at all. So yes, this is what you use to count that. So we can now try it back with that A2 to A 10,002. Sorry, let me edit that, 10,002. So you close your bracket and you hit enter. So you can now see count A is now giving us 10,000, showing that this column was counted and the values that are there is 10,000. Now to the next one, we have count blank. Now for count blank, we would be seeing this using the total price column. How many cells were empty? Now this is the total price column. Yes, so we'll be checking how many of them are empty. Looking at this by just mere scrolling down, you may not be able to ascertain if there are empty cells or not. But using this function equal to count blank, open your bracket. Now it is asking for a range. So the range is I2 to I 10,002 or 10,001, whatever it is there that you have. Yes, I think that settles it. And you can see without going through it, 22 cells are empty. Yes, you need this when you want to clean your data. You need this when you are cleaning your data, especially when you have to fill up the column. Yes, you know, for a column like total price, you can't leave it empty, so you have to count how many cells are empty on that column. And if you have been following, please, I will enjoin you to like, share, subscribe to this channel, and yes, don't forget to drop a comment, as I will be willing to answer all your questions. So we'll be continuing on the next one, which is the if statement. Yes, if statements are conditional statements, and just like you have it in English, saying if, you are trying to provide a condition. If this is this, give this. If this is that, give that. So it's still the same thing that we do in Excel here. For example, I have a sheet currently showing, and as you can see, we're under if statement. So we use each statement to categorize or do whatever we want to do, grouping and all that. So for this case, I will be grouping or using the if statement to categorize the staff of this company into senior level executives and junior level executives. Yeah, just those two. So what I'll have to do is this: you need to write the statement, which is equal to if, then you open your bracket. The logical test is the next thing. Now the logical test is this: what are you trying to define? So for this one, as you can see, I've written down a little side note here that the senior executive should be above $150,000. So I'm going to write 150. So the logical test is logical test is going to be this salary column. If they are receiving above 150,000, which you have there, yes, then comma, they're now asking value if true. So what do you want it to write back to you? What I want it to categorize it as is senior executive. Yeah, now notice that when I was writing that senior executive, I had to put the inverted comma. Yes, you are defining the term, so you need to place your inverted comma before you define the term. Then once I've written that value if true, now value if not true. If it is not true, every other person categorize them for me as, sorry, let me go back on that. So you categorize them for me as junior staff. Yes, then you end your double quotation mark. Now once you are done with that, you close your bracket and you hit enter. Immediately you do that, you can see that right here we have senior executive. Now if I double click on this to fill up the column, you can see that those that are receiving less than $150,000 are categorized as junior staff. Meanwhile, those that are receiving above that, like you can see this shown here, are called senior executive. You can also see down here on column 13, you see the salary is 158,331 and it's senior executive. Meanwhile, the 129 is junior executive, junior staff. Now supposing you have many categorization you want to do, which leads us to ifs. Now you have many categorization to do and not just one. I'll be showing us two ways to achieve that. So I'll be showing us two ways to achieve that. You can see I've already done the grouping here, side notes here, that those below 60,000 should be junior, less than 120,000 should be mid-level, then the senior should be from above 120,000, which is 121,000. Now for this, we are going to write it as ifs. Now I'll be doing two ways here. I'll be doing it in two ways, so just follow carefully and see what I'm doing. So this is equal to ifs with the s, now if with an s. So now they're now asking for the logical test. So the logical test is this: if the salary, this column E2, is what do we have there, less than, sorry, less than 60,000, yeah, that's 60,000, call the person for me. Now the next thing is value if true. So less than 60,000, we call the person junior. You can see that. Close your inverted brackets, inverted comma, comma. Then the next logical test is this: if E2, which is still the salary, is less than 120, 1, 2, 3, comma, call the person mid, that is mid-level or mid-level staff. So then comma, if the same salary column E2 is now greater than 121, 123, comma, call the person a senior level staff. Then you close your bracket. Now once you do this and you hit the run, that is enter, once you hit the enter, you see that it brought out, this is the syntax here. You can see the syntax here. If E2 is less than 6,000, junior is 120, 60,000, junior is 120,000, and senior from 120,000. So once you autofill this, you can see that it has categorized it into senior for those that are above 120, Then for those that are below $60,000, you can see it being categorized as juniors. I hope that is clear enough. And also I will be going into the sum if. Yes, so I'll be going into the sum if, where we are going to be doing a little bit here. Now, we said find the total units that were sold in the eastern region. This is a question here and telling us to sum it. We have a little side note here to guide you of what your answer should be. So we have a question here using the sum if. You know, sum is summation, so once you are doing any addition, you use the sum if, and you are specifying it based on a condition. Now find the total units that were sold in the eastern region. Now things to notice: this eastern region is a criteria, then total unit is the value you are adding together. So let's move on with that. So we're going to write the syntax equal to sum if, open the brackets, then the range is going to be where you found where your criteria is going to be found, the column in which your criteria is going to be found. Yes, so anytime you hear of range, sum range, count range and all that, that tells you that that is the column in which the criteria will be found. So the eastern region criteria will be found under region column. If you look at this B here, you have region column here. So I'm going to be selecting that region column. So I'll be starting from B2 to the end. Now remember how to do your selection: shift control, then down arrow key, then comma. Now the next thing they are asking is the criteria, and the criteria we are looking for is eastern region. So I would select eastern region. Anywhere at all there is eastern region, you can select it, then you put your comma. Then the next thing is asking is the sum range. Now this is the total unit column, so where you have units column is under units, that is E. Yes, the total units column. So the total units column is going to sum up this units column. So I'll still be selecting E2 to the end, shift control down arrow key, and then you close your bracket. You are done with that. Let me go back up here. Yes, so you are done with that already, and then you hit enter. Now as a way, you can see the answer there. Find the total units that were sold in the eastern region is 691, and to check that, you can see it being written down here as 691. Had it been it was a central, this is the answer you would get. If it is west, this is the answer you get. Yes, so moving on, what was the total revenue generated from binder? Now this is simple, the same way you have done. You'll notice that we have a column called revenue here. So this is going to be our sum range. Yes, this is where we are going to be adding. This is our value. Then the next thing is this: what is our criteria? Our criteria is binder. Now, having known that your criteria is binder, what column is binder found? Binder is found in the item column. So here, this means that item is going to be your range. Yes, item is going to be your range, then binder is your criteria, then the sum range is going to be the revenue. So let's apply that quickly and see what we come up with. Equal to sum if, open your brackets. Now the range, like we said, is the item column. Now we select that, then comma. Now the next thing it's asking is your criteria. So anywhere you see binder on this in this cell here, under the D column, you select your binder, then comma. Then the next thing, it will be asking for the revenue, that is the sum range. Now the sum range, you said it was in G, so we'll be selecting from G to shift control down arrow key, and then you close your bracket. Once you do that, you hit enter, you see it has given us the answer, which is 9577.65, and you can see here also it's been written down as 9577.65. If it is for others, you can see that the answers have been provided here, so you can get the sheet and try it on your own. Now before I move forward, I would also be touching on what we call the sum ifs. Now the if with an S, that is, you are going to be having two criteria to get out, two criteria to sum up, two criteria to find the total. So let us see what is written down here. So what is the total revenue generated from the central region where the item is a pencil? Now notice one thing, the sum range is going to be your total revenue. Then your criteria 1 is central region. That makes region your range. Yes, your criteria range. That makes region your criteria range. That is criteria 1 range. Then the next criteria you have is pencil. Now having pencil as your next criteria, that makes item, that is the column item, your next criteria range. So let's apply that to what we have. So we have it equal to SUMIFS. Now notice one thing here. In this case, sum range is not going to come last anymore as it were in SUMIF. In SUMIF, we first of all put the range, then the criteria before the sum range. However, in SUMIFS, the sum range is coming first. So we are going to be summing up this by selecting this. So G2 to the end, then comma. Then the next thing now, it is now asking criteria range 1. Yes, the criteria range 1 simply means the criteria range of central region. If you look at that, we had already said region was the criteria, so we are having B2 to B44. Yes, then comma, then the next thing is your criteria, which is criteria 1. Now criteria 1 was central region, so anywhere you see central here, that is what you are going to be selecting. So I am selecting this third one here, so on B4, then comma. Next, it is asking for criteria range 2. Now you can continue this for as long as you want. So criteria range 2 is pencil. Sorry, yeah, where the column where pencil is found actually. So the column where pencil is found is item column, which is D. So I'll be writing D2 to D44. Now comma, and then the criteria 2 is pencil. So I'll be looking at where I have pencil. Let me select this one down here. So that is where I have pencil. Now if I have many criteria like 6, 7, I keep on going and writing the syntax in this format. Yes, but since it's just 2, I'll be ending here. So the next thing you do after you are done with the question or the objective you want to answer, you close your bracket and you hit the enter. Now you can see what we have there. We have 1540.32. If you look down here, you can see that it has been summed up. Pencil is the item, then the central region, you can see 1540.32. that answers it perfectly. So you can try these other ones to see what you get. Then the next thing we now have is how many units were sold by sales representative Jones where the cost of each item was greater than 4. Now this is a little bit advanced, but then I'll be showing you how to get this done. It's very simple. Yes, it's very, very simple. So how many units were sold by sales rep Jones? Now looking at this, the first thing that comes to your mind is this: what's your sum range? The sum range is units sold, and in that case what we have is how many units were sold. So the units sold, we know we have a column called units, so we want to find out how many of them were sold. So we are summing up each and every one that sales rep Jones sold, and they were greater than 4. So this is going to be very, very easy. So let's go. The first criteria we have is sales rep, which is Jones, making our range to be sales rep. Then the next criteria is the unit sold, which is now greater than 4. So let's do that quickly. So this is equal to SUMIFS. Open your brackets. The sum range is going to be units here. Then bring it down, comma. Then the next thing is criteria range 1. So the criteria range 1 is under the sales rep. So we'll select that also to C44. sorry about that, C44, comma, criteria 1 is Jones. So anywhere you see Jones, you select Jones, then comma. Now criteria range 2 is under this place, so we are still going to select this as our criteria range 2. However, now comma, however, those that are now greater than 4. So to do this, you have to define it. So you put your inverted comma, then 4, then close your inverted comma and close your bracket. Once you hit enter, you can see the item, the number of times is sold that were greater than 4 is 4 times. Yes, you can see that. So the number of times or how many units is sold were just 4 that he sold. Now the next one is this. This is also a little bit tricky, so yeah, pay close attention to it. I'll also be using this definition formula here to still define this excluding pencil. So this says how many units did Jones sell excluding pencil item. Now the first thing again, your criteria, the sum range is unit sold. Then the next thing you see is Jones is another criteria and pencil is another criteria, making the sales rep column to become your criteria range 1 and pencil, which is under item, to become your criteria range 2. So let's apply that and see. Equal to sum ifs, open your bracket, sum range is under the units, then you E2 to E44, sorry, E44, comma, then the criteria range 1 is going to be Jones, so that is C2 to C44, comma, the criteria is Jones, is the one we are concerned about, comma, then the next thing is now pencil, so pencil is found under item, so that's D2 to D44, comma, then sorry, excluding pencil. Now excluding pencil, you are not going to be selecting, you can't start selecting all others and leaving out pencil. So the easiest way to do that out is you still define, then excluding is greater than and less than, sorry, less than and greater than, then you select your pencil. So close it up and you run this. Sorry, I was supposed to put, oh, sorry about that, let me make that correction. Sorry, I was supposed to end this definition. Yes, I opened it, I didn't close it back. So yeah, so once you do that, you can see the total units that Jones sold excluding pencil was 396 units of items. So you can now see this gives us the answer to that question. So aside that, Jones sold every other thing that he sold excluding pencil gave us 396. Now let us check the COUNTIF function. Now this is very straightforward. The way we've been doing counting, this is no longer going to sum up. Yes, this is no longer going to sum up. So we are now having find the total number of time Gil has made a sale. So the total number of time he made a sale, the function is equal to count if, remember your range and criteria also. So the number of times is this. We are going to be counting how many times Gil made a sale. So the range is going to be sales rep and the criteria is Gil. So that's C2 to C44, then comma, and the criteria is Gil. So we select anywhere you see the Gil, you select it and you run that. So you see that is 5 times. Yes. So the next one we'll be looking at is COUNTIFS. COUNTIFS. Now this is saying how many orders were placed from the East region after 10th of February 2019. This is still going to provide us with the question of how will we do this, and to do this we are going to define that date there. So the COUNTIFS function starts with COUNTIFS with an S, open your bracket, the criteria range. So the criteria range, we have East region, that is the first one. So region is going to be B2 to B44. That's the criteria range 1. Then comma, the criteria is east, so anywhere you see east, let me pick this down here, you select it, then comma. The next thing now is now criteria range 2, which is going to be the dates column, so A2 to A44. Now it is saying after 10th of February 2019. If you look at this date order very well, you will notice that the month came first, then followed by the day, and then finally the year. So what we are going to be doing is this: you define that. So this is your definition, and the month is going to come second. So 2 represents February, then forward slash, then 10th, then forward slash 19. Now keeping in mind the exact way, sorry, that's going to be greater than, sorry please, let me edit that. This is going to be greater than, yes, so greater than that. So keeping in mind the format of the date, and once you hit run, you can see you are having 12. So there were 12 orders that were placed from the east after this day. Then the next one is this: how many times did Gil sell pencils? So this is you still counting. So how many times did Gil sell pencils? Oh, now you have Gil as criteria 1 and pencil as criteria 2. So you're going to be saying equal to count ifs, sorry, open your brackets, criteria range 1 is going to be sales rep, so C2 to C44, comma, then the criteria is Gil, comma, then the next thing is criteria range 2, which is D2 to D44, comma, then the criteria 2 is pencil. So wherever I see pencil, I select and I close that bracket and you hit run. So the answer here is 2. If you followed us up to this point, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this video. I will be waiting for your feedback to answer all questions that you have on this topic, and watch out for more episodes that are coming in.